Dolby Stereo-ljud. Upp till 8 timmars speltid på halva bandhastigheten. Mitsubishi, videon du kopplar till din HiFi stereoanläggning för maximal ljudkvalitet. Videobandspelaren som kan mer än att visa bilder.
Mitsubishi, even the name sounds great.
Hey, look, it's a VCR. And this is actually kind of a special one to me because back when I was a teenager, I had the Electrohome branded version of this. And it's a fairly top-end unit. Electrohome, if you're not familiar, was a Canadian brand making radios, things like that. I believe they made TVs. And sometime in the late 70s, they either were bought by Mitsubishi or did a licensing deal so Mitsubishi could sell under the Electrohome brand. Or Electrohome rebranded Mitsubishi, I don't remember. But in Canada, you could buy the Mitsubishi model or the Electrohome. And I had the Electrohome one, which I'm showing here. This is actually pictures of the one that I had. And the story how I got it, I was in, I think, grade 10 electronics class in high school. And people would like donate broken stuff for the students to fix, kind of on the side if you finished all your projects. And, you know, I was like, holy crap, this is a really fancy looking VCR. And I was told, yeah, if you fix it, you can take it. Had the remote. This one doesn't have the remote. I'll get to that later. That's really cool. And so I started taking it apart, and the problem was it was flickering. Like the power supply was not working correctly, which, you know, now I could probably fix, but at the time I had no idea. I was like, that's probably a capacitor. And the first cap I removed, I tried powering it on and it powered up and came to life without the cap. And if I recall, the cap was somewhere in the front here on this front circuit board for this VFD. And yeah, removing the cap, came to life, powered up, just like this. Boom, got myself a machine. The remote died shortly after. No idea what killed it. It started doing a thing where you'd press and hold a button and it wouldn't have a little LED on it and the LED wouldn't light up. It would wait a few seconds, almost like it was charging up to turn on. Then it just eventually died and there were no parts inside to replace. It was one of those epoxy dome ICs on a circuit board, which is unfortunate, which I'll get to later. But for now, let's look at this thing. It's an absolute beast. It's from 1984. And I believe this would have been Mitsubishi's top of the line from 1984. Well, it was definitely Mitsubishi's top of the line, but it wasn't the highest end one that this catalog sold. That was the Zenith BR4000, which I did a video on. I think it was $1,100. But $800 in 1984, this is October 1984, that's still a pretty sum. Fully featured, renowned MGA Mitsubishi performance, Dolby noise reduction, 139 channels, 8-event 14-day timer, and here's the remote that it came with. I have a better picture I'll show in a bit. But this is the Mitsubishi version, and here is the Electrohome version. So this is from the Calgary Herald, and the other one is from the Arizona Republic, something, something. $1,200 Canadian. Man, that dollar, just brutal. And the Electrohome was the HVR A01. Same shape. I've been told the Mitsubishi looks better. I kind of like the look of this one better, but hey, whatever. This gives a little bit more detail. It's got Cable Master, channel tuning, blah, blah, blah. For logic head, slow motion, tape end alarm. Oh yeah, it lets you know when you're getting near the end of the tape. Remote control of TV power and volume. So this is getting into why that remote is special. So this was the remote. Little side tangent, and then we'll get back to the VCR. The remote was actually the exact same for Electrohome, same silver color. It just said Electrohome instead of Mitsubishi. You know, it's pretty standard. You have your slow motion and speed control, VCR power, TV video, your transport controls. You can do direct tune channel up and down. But then you get over here and you go, this is TV. And you think, okay, is this an early universal remote? No. There's an outlet on the back of the VCR, and this powers it on and off. The volume actually adjusts the volume of the signal going out the RF modulator, and TV mute mutes the audio on the RF modulator. So if you're old enough to remember when TVs with knobs and the You know, just had a rotary volume control, were everywhere, and people had those little cable converter boxes. The primary purpose of those was, you know, you'd plug your cable TV into them and they'd make your TV cable ready. It could tune in all the high channels above 13 because cable frequencies above channel 13 were different than broadcast, because why not? So those were commonplace, but you could get fancier cable converter boxes that would also control the volume, mute, and have a switched outlet on the back to turn your TV on and off. The idea being it would completely add remote control capability to your TV. Like, you'd never have to get up, you'd never have to touch anything on the front. This VCR did the same thing. And what's also cool is this is a soft power, this is a soft power, but the power switch on the front of the VCR is a push in, push out. So it had a master power on the front and then a soft power on the remote. Very unusual. These are on eBay and I cannot justify the price to ship them to Canada to demonstrate it. I really wish I could, but that's about the only interesting part on it. So yeah, back to this VCR. Here's the physical power. It's a push in, push out. And what's neat here is, so I'll turn this on, right? It's powered on. Now what I'm gonna do is unplug it and plug it back in. See, it's powered off, but this power switch is pushed in. So if I push it out, power's on. It has soft power, and this is the master power switch. So Mitsubishi did it differently than most other VCR manufacturers. I think this is more of a European way of doing things. So let's look at the controls here. Underneath the first door, you have tape speed. This does support LP, but it calls the 6-hour speed EP, not SLP. That was a Mitsubishi thing. Some other brands did that too, I think Sharp. You got clock set and a timer set here for your 8-event 14-day, which was pretty impressive for the time. Hard reset, I guess if the computer ever locks up, and then clear for your entries. Two tracking controls, one for the slow motion and pause, one for normal playback. Sharpness control. It does have a brightness control for the VFD, and I will tell you, this is incredibly dim. I think the camera's really bringing up the gain, like you can see my reflection here, but in real life, I can barely see those little E's for the unset clock. And that's brighter, but still it's barely visible. So this has seen a lot of hours. You have audio dub, one-touch record. So you can set it, say you're sitting here right now and you go, oh, this program just started, I want to record it for an hour. One-touch record, and it'll stop after an hour. Perfect. Set that to 0 so it'll go away. The TV video switch for the RF modulator. On the front, we have a counter. Did it just shut off? Oh, because I set it to 0. Shuts the VCR off because it's done. Okay, cool. You have your counter timer. They share the same segments. Counter reset, counter memory. I don't see an indicator that there's counter memory. I don't know what's going on with that. Remaining time. So this is kind of cool. When you press and hold this, and it's press and hold, it'll show you the remaining time. And it does the calculation based on a T120, which is the normal, or T160. As you can see with the tape in here, once I've played it for a little bit, it will show you the time remaining. That C is only there if it hasn't calculated yet. Commonplace on newer VCRs, but for 1984, that was pretty state-of-the-art. Of course, this is a stereo but non-hi-fi model, so it's got the Dolby noise reduction. Transport controls, channel, eject. Now, check that out. See how it just scanned? Very slowly while it's searching for a channel with a signal. Let's open the second door and take a look at that. So many hidden controls. I love it. This is your input selector, tuner, camera line in on the back, and simulcast for external audio, but video from the tuner. Cable and TV. This, oh, it's switched back to 2. This is, of course, the switching frequencies. If you have cable or broadcast, only affects channel 14 and higher. And then you have this auto manual. And you'd think, okay, that's probably to do with this fine tuning, because there's actually a fine tuning adjustment. but it's not. Do adjust the fine tuning here. Starting to get the herringbone. And we're gone. We'll tune back. And now we're starting to lose some color. The color's gone. Now I think if I just go up and then down, it will reset. Yeah, it resets. So it only temporarily adjusts the fine tuning. So let me put it in manual. And it's staying on whatever channel I select. If I put it in auto, it scans. And what you'll also notice is there's no buttons to add or remove presets for the channels. This is what you get. So it just slowly scans looking for channels. Absolutely brutal. But that's how they did it for some reason. And you can put it into manual. Oh, actually, yeah, channel 64 is a real channel. So while it's scanning, you can always take it off auto and it'll just stop. But yeah, that's all you get for the tuner controls. We have the Dolby noise reduction, which lights up a nice indicator on the VFD. I think this just sat powered off for a long time because the clock is the dim part. Everything else on this VFD is actually very visible and bright. You have audio dub, microphone inputs, 2-channel because it's linear stereo, and a headphone jack. So I was told this works. Let's pop a tape in and see what it does. First off, the UHF is really fuzzy, and I just realized this has separate connections on the back for UHF and VHF. So let's just see how it handles straight VHF. Oh my god, it's so slow. Ah, perfectly clear. Crystal. Yeah, that looks fine. Nice strong tuner, and I don't have very strong signal in here. It's gone through a lot of splitters. So let's try a tape I've never tried before. The Gold Rush. Also, this mechanism is pretty cool when I open it up. It doesn't have a lot of belts. We got sound on here. Oh, I guess I should plug in the sound. Well, pause. I have sound out of one channel. But is it just that the head's not lining up? Okay, pause. Oh, yeah, I only have one channel. So this is going down to channel 2. We have a dead channel. Oh, that's sad. Let's try, so this is push and hold for scan. Very responsive. Rewind scan. Oh, watch this. Fast forward. Rewind. Fast forward. Rewind. So this is hinting at the cool part about this mechanism. It's all direct drive. All of it. And it just works. Like, I mean, this looks fine. Let's get a better tape.
This again?
Get rid of the audio there, so let's try eject. Very fast, because of course the tape is unloaded. As was the style at the time. Let's try something that will get me in trouble. Oh, I remember that sound.
I refuse to believe that you aren't familiar with the concept of attraction.
Well, shit, I don't have the other channel. That linear stereo is part of the draw. Gonna have to get that working. But like crystal clear. That's got to be dual azimuth, because this is an SP recording, and that is crystal freaking clear. Oh, no, maybe that's a little off. So let's try the slow tracking. I've adjusted it. That's worse. So if I adjust it the other way here, that's better. What if I go all the way to one side here? Whoa! That was quite the head switching there with that peel. Flag polling or whatever they call it. Okay, so it's worse over here. And then as I turn it to the right, that gets worse too. So I think that was probably so it's probably not dual azimuth. This looks like just regular traditional forehead. Still pretty good though. Oh boy, that flag. Ooh. Ooh. Yeah, she's tired. Oh, and another thing I just remembered that made this the ultimate VCR for me in my teenage years. It knows nothing of this macrovision that you speak of. This could copy any tape. It could record from anything. It did not care what you gave it. It would record it flawlessly. This thing was absolutely wonderful for making legitimate copies of works that I already owned. Okay, so far I'm impressed. There's a couple little glitches with it, but let's open it up. See how fast it loads the tape. Oh my God, that's so fast. We need to go deeper. If I could describe this in one word, overbuilt. Not one, but two impedance rollers. Completely direct drive. So the take up reel table and the supply reel table, there's actually a motor under here, are both direct drive. One thing I didn't look at years ago was how does it handle the tension? Is that an act, like does it do it, it must do it through the motor, because I don't see any tension band there. I mean, why would you need it? You can do it electronically. So that's pretty cool. That's like those Sonys that were all direct drive that turned out to be not as good. A little dirty inside. Let's see, let's see if we can take a look at the heads, see what we got here. Focus. Oh, what? That is dual azimuth. Check it. You got two heads there. Two heads there. Oh boy. Very nice. So I guess the FX4 is what Mitsubishi called dual azimuth. Pretty cool. Apologies for the shaky camera here. Take a look in there. So wow. All metal, all just high quality. Yeah, that's nice and loose. Not like a Sony. I'm assuming that pinch roller is good. It was performing well. Man, here's your loading motor for the front. Now there are belts. When I had this, and for years afterwards when I would tell people about it, I would say this VCR had no belts. It was all direct drive. The Electrohome one said 5 motor, all direct drive on the front. That's kind of a lie. There's 2 belts. I looked it up online before getting this thing, 2 belts. And they're both related to the tape loading. You can see one down there and there's another one somewhere else. The reason for that is you want something to take the slip when you're loading this if any of this jams, or you're just going to chew gears. So it is smart to put those on belts. And I mean, those aren't super critical. But no rubber idlers. 1984, other brands were still using freaking rubber idlers. I think they were just going to gears. So yeah, okay. Let's pop in a tape. See what it does. So let's pop in a tape and watch it from the top here. Oh, gotta plug it in. See, I was smart. I unplugged it when I took all this metal stuff off around the power supply. I don't normally do that. Always forget. So it needs to be powered on. There we go. And we'll go play. Freaking solid. And let's watch the transport when I fast forward and rewind. Instant. Absolutely instant. Man, if this had had HiFi, this thing would be well sought after. Because, I mean, it's just, what's to go wrong? I mean, other than the thousands upon thousands of aging electronic components, what's to go wrong? And just once again with the top off, just see how fast it goes from play to fully ejected. Love it. Well, now that I'm sure that it's not going to destroy things, let's try it with some more fun tapes. You've seen the copy of E.T. with the green flap, but have you seen Back to the Future 2 with the green flap and green reels? I am not kind, I didn't rewind. Like, I mean, what's lovely about this is usually when you get these old machines, they're so sluggish at rewind and fast forward because those idler tires are just worn to shit. But this works like the day it was new. It's barely moving. How very pleasant. How's the fast forward on this? Insane. It actually seemed like it slowed down a bit, but if it's got real table motor sensors, then it would speed up and slow down, because you would think that this would be rewinding a lot faster with all this tape on this reel, right? Because a couple of revolutions will just send it. But when I hit rewind, it's going real slow. Look at that. So the reel table speed sensors are doing double duty, not just for the time remaining. That's a feature that you didn't really see until the high-speed rewind days. It's wild that they would incorporate that into this machine. Let's just appreciate this wonderful high-speed whooshing sound from the head drum motor when you hit play. At least I think that's from the head drum. Blah, 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 blah. We're just going to look at the previews. Don't look at that. What we got for... Oh, this better not just like actually get into the movie. I purposely grabbed a rental copy because I thought it would have previews.
He was just a boy when I first met him.
Playing with the tracking here. Is this... I don't hear this audio speed change. Is this changing the head drum speed? Maybe. I can't hear anything there either. Weird. So the picture is not all that clean on this tape. But yeah, that's not too bad. It could just need a cleaning. And I mean, old aged components, sure. Rewind. Fast forward. Rewind. Okay, I'll stop.
Bed goes up, bed goes down, bed goes up.
Yeah. I mean, let's take a look at the bottom of this now. I do want to try a test recording on this. I don't think it's going to fare too well in its age, though. These old machines record horribly, in my experience. Something neat that I just noticed, and I do remember this, is that when you flip this door down to do the timer controls, it shuts off the counter. So you can no longer get the counter. And you can't adjust the channels. So if you ever lost this door, if it ever broke off, you're kind of screwed for doing a lot of stuff. It forces you into program mode with with this little switch here. But also, memory. Oops. Memory rewinds to the 0. So that's also very similar. I think Beta had that, it was like something return, and it would just rewind to 0 versus a lot of the VHS machines that just had a counter memory you'd have to turn on and off and then hit rewind. Hey, I remember this place. Neat. Like all audio video repair shops, this place is no longer open, but I mean, that's just how things have gone. And here you go. This is the supply reel. This is the gear that's beside the take-up reel. This is your capstan motor. This is your head drum motor. And there's a motor on the top for the front load mechanism that we saw. I think there's probably another, yeah, right there. There's actually 6 motors. So when it says 5 motor direct drive, I'm assuming they're not including this one because it's not direct drive. You can see there's one belt there. Where would the other belt be then? No, I couldn't find the other one. Maybe there is just that one belt. In typical Mitsubishi fashion, actually this loading belt here kind of reminds me of that boombox style Mitsubishi portable that I have from around this age too. I think it's like 83. It was right on the edge, except the difference is this one you can easily hook around here. That one is completely inaccessible. Is this a solenoid? Oh, it's got a little break on the capstan. Nice. Those are connectors going to something on top. Oh, those are the reel table sensors. So you can see this one here, and this one goes to there. So yeah, those are the reel table speed sensors I was talking about. Those measure the difference in speed between the 2 reel tables to calculate remaining time, and apparently also what speed rewind or fast forward should be going at. So it slows down as it reaches the end or beginning. But yeah, I just wanted to show this. This is wonderful. And the fact that this still works is a testament to how overbuilt this is. Like, I know Sony had the Betamax, I think the SL2500, I think was the all direct drive. I think it had a toothed belt for loading. So this has an actual belt for loading. Sony had the toothed belt, which they kept for a while. But I think that one had a bunch of problems. It had like front loading gears that would fail. It had like tension issues. Like, I know 12 Volt Vids did a video talking about how it was overbuilt to a fault. In my experience using this model, it was a tank. It just went forever. And this thing, well, I think it was last serviced in 1994. All right, got a blank tape in here. I hooked it up to the UHF now, so all the UHF stations are coming in crystal clear. Now, the music on here, this is really good because it's got a lot of high contrast areas. Well, I'm getting flickering on the tuner. I don't know what that's from. Okay, we'll have to see how that goes. Music on here is not copyright free though, or royalty free as it were. Let's see what's there. Yeah, I'll have to just show the, oh, you know what? It's probably the switch on the front here. Let's wiggle this a little bit. Anyway, I'm going to record in the 3 speeds and let's see what it looks like as a direct feed. So that was exactly what I expected. Pretty poor performance. Weirdly, the worst performance was on LP. Actually, EP looked better and about the same as SP, which is kind of crazy for a forehead. I don't know if this thing always performed that poorly, kind of like the Sanyo of the VHS world, or it's just aged components and it needs a good servicing, which it probably does. Anyway, let's just look at a quick sample of the color. When I turn off the weather channel, it's got some color bars as a background. And I'm also putting in the source, as you could see back there. And you can see that the tuner, even a direct source, is not great. It's pretty soft. It's got some noise on there. So, I mean, part of this, I think, too, is the tuner. I wanted to try and get an accurate example of what this would have looked like being used back in the day, because you wouldn't have had something connected to the line in directly. You would have been using the RF in, unless you were using an old camera. Anyway, color bars. So yeah, colors okay, I guess. Lots of smearing. There's some banding on LP, a little bit on EP. LP looks the worst, to be honest. And there's that buzzing, if you can kind of hear in the audio. I did the tests with all the shields removed. I put the shields back on and the buzzing is gone down slightly, that high-pitched, but there's still a low-pitched hum. So I think that high-pitched buzzing was just me removing all the shielding, of which this really needs, with all the noise in here. Still not great though. Something of interest that I noticed on the side of the VCR here is the accessibility and the labeling of all these adjustments. So when I was talking about the tension, yeah, it's electronic tension, and here's an adjustment for it. And then this is this outer plastic casing would have been for PAL and NTSC, and the board would have been different, obviously. But you have your pre-still adjustment, so I'm assuming something to do with pause, pre, I'm not sure what that's referring to. You have your some sort of adjustment for the 4 and 8 hour, or sorry, 6 and 2 hour. Interesting that those are backwards on the two. Capstan, this is probably the freewheeling adjustment. Slow tracking adjustment for the 2 speeds. Tracking mono multi. So this is probably to do with the linear audio. Mono multi. Oh yeah, so the PAL version was mono and this is multi, I guess. And then switching point for the heads. See, now I'm not going to touch any of this because it's working well enough, and twiddling these without the proper calibration equipment is asking for trouble. Then let's take a quick look inside at the electronics. Some screws along here. Most of them are marked with an arrow. So arrow, where's the next one? Arrow and arrow. Okay, good. And then it hinges on this side, like so. But then there's this one. I had to remove this screw and there's no arrow. So look, what the heck. Anyway, unplug these connections from the tuner board. And there we go. Oh, look at that wire harness bundling. Oh my God. Like, look at this and then picture the inside of a modern 2000s or 2010s era VCR. What a difference. This could be the inside of an aircraft. Boards aren't actually that complex. Only having 2 boards, one on the top, one on the bottom, and it's just on the side of the machine. That's not bad considering how complex some machines were from this era. Lots of wire harnessing though, holy crap. And taking a look in there, yeah. Yep. That's electronics. And finally, let's take a look at the back. So you have another still adjust for REGL pause, regular pause? I don't know. So that's probably, I've seen it sometimes for vertical, like vertical stability. I don't know. There's your AV input and output. Back in these old machines, they used to separate the audio and the video. It's using the standard color code you see now, which is nice. Camera pause, because you meant to plug a camera into this. Here's your RF modulator switch, your RF in and out, separate UHF, as I mentioned earlier. And here is the outlet that is switched. I've plugged the lights into the switched outlet on the back. But what's interesting, because the TV has a separate soft power, so using the remote for this, you can turn the TV on and off independently of the VCR. Because now that I've hit master power, it's on. And finally, the information on the back. Mitsubishi model HS-330UR, 58 watts. And so this is interesting because I mentioned about the Electrohome and Mitsubishi. Either Electrohome resold Mitsubishi stuff or Mitsubishi bought Electrohome to be able to sell in Canada. But this is from 1984 and it is distributed in Canada. Like, this is a Canadian model meant to sell in Canada. So either the having to sell under the Electrohome brand thing was earlier, like maybe in the 70s, and by the 1980s they could sell under Mitsubishi and just had like 2 brands, or I don't know, but this is definitely sold in Canada. And I had the Electrohome model, which was also sold in Canada. So these were being sold at the same time. The illusion of choice. Anyway, that's all I wanted to show with this. Thanks for watching. Went to go get another test tape, and it's more Jurassic Park. That's just the only test tape I seem to have lately.